Hello and welcome to the race recap where we delve into an intriguing return to Imola. The track is back in action after a season's absence owing to last year's flooding, which led to the cancellation of the race, resulting in only 22 races for the 2023 season.
As qualifying began, it became apparent that Johnson, the rookie driver for Alpine, incurred a grid penalty because old components were not replaced in time by their mechanics. This resulted in them sitting out most of Q1. Although they managed to get the car out for a single run, as it was to no avail, being eliminated in Q1. To everyone's surprise, there was another standing restart following a red flag, this time due to Pierre Gasly spinning out and getting caught in the gravel trap of Sector 3.
The race is shaping up to be a unique environment for drivers as we move into the faster paced tracks. We've observed teams these last few races as they fight to move up the rankings of the grid for the season. Mercedes bringing the fight to the front of the field as Haas and other teams alike are still looking to improve their current situations.
While McLaren is in the fight, they had unfortunately made the wrong call during the race, which allowed Red Bull to yet again take the lead of the Constructors' Championship.
Well, here's to hoping that McLaren can continue that fight as we are looking forward to that race in Monaco.
All right, so here we are in Monaco, and like the times before, we're going to go ahead and leave the corner racing line on because of how difficult the track is for me. Being one of the hardest tracks on the game itself, really. As we get a provisional pole, good enough to get into Q2. I know it's a difficulty set a little bit too low, but 1/10 in Monaco is a big difference. So that's why we are not changing the difficulty for the race. That's provisional P5 in Q2, good enough to get us into Q3 as we're coming around the final few corners here for qualifying. Currently P8 because we haven't set a time, and we had a mistake in Sector 1 at the start of the lap, but it's not going to be enough
Okay,
for
just
the
2
front
laps
row.
of fuel remaining now.
That's going to be, I believe, P3 or P4.
Formula One returns to Monte Carlo once again today, home to the world-famous Monte Carlo Casino that first opened in 1863. And of course, a certain road race first held in 1929. But there's no greater an occasion, no more valuable a win than the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than inches from the race-ending barriers. Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And starting next to them is George Russell. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Johnson, Verstappen, Perez, Fernando Alonso, Gasly, Sainz, Albon, Hamilton, Ricciardo, Hülkenberg, Oscar Piastri, Bottas, Joe, Magnussen, Stroll, Tsunoda, Leclerc, and Logan Sargent. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway. And alongside me in the commentary box, my old friend, Anthony Davidson. Look, we know it's not where you start, it's where you finish, but let's talk about the start now. What's there to help the drivers get away well?
Big pressure at the start of the race, Crofty, for all of them up and down the grid, no matter where you are. But the drivers these days, they practice, practice and practice. They have rigs with them at the circuit where they can sit down with the actual steering wheel from the real car, and they've got lights that they react to. The clutch paddle is tailored around the driver's hands, around their fingers, so they can have optimum position before they start. So there's so much thought and effort that goes into getting these cars off the line.
We had a feeling you would do great here for qualifying since you've driven Monaco in F2. The car's bigger here than what you were used to, and you've shown that you can handle it. Now let's get you your first podium.
As the formation lap gets underway, the cars will begin their journey climbing high through the town before dicing down to the harbour side of Monaco. Arguably the most iconic venue on the race calendar due to its setting and, of course, the annual dose of glamour and drama. So as all the cars take their positions on the grid, the teams will be hoping their strategies pay off for them in today's race. But the question I'm asking is which teams have got it right, and which ones have got it horribly wrong?
Alright, coming around that final corner, a little sketchy there with how the AI wants to come around. But yeah, so one of a handful of tracks with a curved starting line. I know off the top of my head, Vegas is the other track that does this, and I'm not sure of any others off the top of my head. But here we have the final few cars coming up to the start-finish line for this race, and we're starting in P3. 5 red lights are on, and we are off here in Monaco, off to an okay start. We thought it was going to be good enough. Russell crosses over to the inside to defend. That's Verstappen on the outside of the turn. A little bit of contact with Verstappen, tire to tire, as he scrapes the wall there. And we drop back down to 4th place. So this left-hander really tricky for us. And we're actually running a max wing setup. So 50-50 on the wings. And max recharge without unsettling the car to try and help us get through these turns. And we find out later on that it's a little bit too much for us as we see Valtteri Bottas and Piastri back there side by side coming through the Monaco chicane, coming through the tunnel here. Audio, I still prefer the audio from last year's game where it actually separates the audio when you're coming through the tunnel. We actually hear the echo. But we only hit Monaco once this season, so we don't really have to deal with it. No other tunnels on the grid that we have to go through as we're coming through the pool section. Pretty close to Verstappen, still 8/10 is a lot of a difference when it comes to a track like this, being so close together and really short track. That's why we're doing 39 laps. Coming around the final corner behind Verstappen, and we're close enough to look for a move with the toe. We're going to make a move on the outside, brake late, and hold him on the inside of that corner. I want to just take off on him here at the start of lap 2. Nothing's really going to happen until lap 12. You guys saw that the order didn't change. Since lap 2, we're still in 3rd place. That's 3.3 seconds. 3.6 now is the gap between myself and Russell. Norris still about 9 seconds ahead of Russell, as we're still trying to defend against Verstappen and then the trainer cars behind him. So like I was saying about the difficulty, we're really setting the train behind us, and then anybody who's ahead of us is just taking off. But at this point, we're going to be coming in, I believe, lap 15 or 16, I think it's lap 17 actually. So we're going to be coming in off of these mediums to the hard tires. But we're going to really feel how the back end reacts to this race. And you can see it right there as we try to put the power down, the back end comes out, and then we smash into the wall. So I thought it was just going to be a safety car, but no, that's going to be a full red flag for the first time here in Monaco, as it's not what we expected. Okay, that was honestly really stupid of us. The back end came out on that final corner, as you guys saw the replay, and it just created a pileup. So it was just a matter of when it happened, and unfortunately, we were the ones who had it happen to us. So let's see what we can do with this.
Right. Get a nice advantage here. Let's have a think about how we handle the rest of this race.
Because we had a red flag just like this in Imola for a spin, but in Monaco you can't go nowhere. So yeah, there's not really much we can do about strategy. So we'll see what we can do with 25 laps on the hard tires. All right, standing restart here on the start of lap 15 now. Red lights are off, and we're off to an okay start. This time starting in third place. Verstappen getting a better start on us than we did because we're on the hard tires, they're on the mediums. That's Alonso and Perez back behind us as we're working our way up the hill. This is where we're going to see the most position changes all at one time, as we're just under halfway through this race, even though we've had a red flag. Skip out on 2 laps, but we'll have to make do with what we can, as we're still trying to hang on to Max Verstappen. It's still Perez and Alonso still close behind, side by side, coming through the chicane. And I believe it's Hamilton and Ricciardo as well coming side by side through that hairpin. From that chicane, Monaco chicane, or Monaco hairpin, sorry. Mixing my words up. Chicane at the end is what I'm thinking. But coming out of the tunnel, and you can see we're already starting to lose ground on Verstappen as we come through the cool section. A really nice shot from stationary camera as we come over, and we're getting a little bit more comfortable about taking that curb, more and more of that curb on the left-hander out of the cool section, as we are within a second of Verstappen, so hopefully we can hold on to that lap and stay within that 1 second towards the end of this lap and try to close in for a podium spot, because we haven't hit the podium yet. We started and finished in 4th in another race, but moving on to lap 17, we're actually on board with Valtteri Bottas, so almost 2 laps later. He's 1.3 seconds behind Piastri and Stroll by about half a second as they're coming out of the pool section into the final corner, and Bottas is going to be the next person to spin out in that area and pull a red flag. Okay, so we have a second red flag here in Monaco, and
Okay, free stop. So let's think very carefully about our strategy for the rest of this race.
I honestly don't know what happened. Of course we went over the replay, but I don't know what happened or where it happened. But this is gonna be different completely compared to the last few years that we've driven Monaco. But alright, here we go again. Alright, for the 3rd time now, our 5 red lights are coming all on. And then they are off, hopefully for the last time here. After we're off to a bad start, actually. Perez on the inside trying to make a move. We switch over to a new sit at mediums. As we push Perez through the inside, he gets a warning for that. And yeah, we're fighting him up the hill. And we're not looking to give in. So we hold the inside line here. Try not to make any contact with him as we push him into a position where he doesn't want to be. Gasly kind of bumped into him there on that right-hander as we come up to the hairpin, and that's going to be the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz with Albon, who are side by side now. I believe that's Leclerc and Magnussen towards the back of the field, side by side as well. So plenty of people still going side by side through the Monaco hairpin as we continue this race. Lap 20 of 39 now. We're still close behind Norris. Verstappen up into P2 now. Russell up ahead in first place because of the red flag from earlier. But definitely a race that I would remember being in Monaco. It's probably one of my best races here in Monaco because of how difficult it is and how difficult it's been throughout the last few years of playing since 21, 22, 23. That's P4 coming on the lap 21. And I know there hasn't been much racing yet, but we're going to go to our commentators.
Well, Martin, we're here in magnificent Monaco. As it appears, we're on lap 21 of 39, but that's not the case, is it? There's been carnage on the streets of Monaco.
That's correct. We've had 2 red flags today alone here in Monaco, and I'm sure the drivers and teams aren't happy about it. Both red flags resulted from spins, the first involving Johnson at the end of lap 12, followed by Valtteri Bottas making contact with the wall in the same turn at the end of lap 17.
You think there would be a safety car after the first time around, which could have easily given drivers a chance to stay out on track, but with how those cars had spun, the time it took to get up and going again was long enough to have to pull out the red flags. We also haven't seen many position changes even before those standing restarts. Of course, Monaco holds the least amount of position changes during a race throughout the season calendar. So we're going to go to Mercedes as Russell is currently holding onto the race lead, holding off the reigning champion. How's the race going, Toto?
I'd have to say it's going all right. George has been able to keep the fight going with the front of the grid. Even with the two standing restarts, he has been able to keep the other team's drivers at bay throughout the race so far, and we're hoping to keep it that way.
We're seeing Lewis in P10. Although it's within the points, aside from the red flags, have there been other factors hindering his race performance and preventing him from maximising his car's potential?
Lewis is a seasoned driver. He knows what he can do to get the best out of the car, and with how the race weekend has been so far, the team is hoping, but it comes down to the driver in the end, and all we can do right now is make sure he finishes this race safely, knowing that there's been plenty worse incidents that have happened here.
Thank you for the input, Toto. It's very exciting to see how Mercedes is climbing their way up the grid in chase of the Constructors' Championship. Next, we go to Ted Kravitz, who's with Zach Brown at the McLaren pit box. I hear you got a good look at how the drivers were feeling after that second red flag.
Well, Crofty, what I do have to say is that there were a lot of unsure faces, like, why am I having to sit through this when the race should almost be over by now? That's the question for you, Zach. Is that how Lando and Oscar were reacting to the second red flag? And how are they now on track since then?
The team as a whole knew that something like that could happen, especially at a track like Monaco or Singapore, where you really need to be ready and in tune with what's going on around you. Lando and Oscar have been zoned in since qualifying yesterday, and the team has been able to keep them that way and free of distractions. And that's to show out on track as Lando is fighting to defend his podium spot.
Some pretty wise words from you, Zach, as that could be said most likely from any of the other teams, as it is important to stay focused at a track like this, where anything can happen. We were looking at the times for each drivers, and it doesn't seem like we may get any more position changes for the remainder of the race. As we have about 16 or so laps to go here in Monaco, one of the most spectacular races on the F1 calendar, let's get back to racing.
And other than those position changes you guys have seen through the commentary, there hasn't really been much change. We are about 7/10 behind Norris, but that's not really going to help us here, as it's lap 23 now, the end of lap 23, lap 24. It's the shortest track on the calendar. That's why there's so many laps in real F1. But we're going to go ahead and transition to the end of the race, lap 39, where we're 18 and a half seconds behind Lando Norris for P4.
We've seen a brilliant display of the Russell hustle. It's George Russell who wins.
It was a joy to watch today, honestly, because the driver was clearly able to read the conditions well on track, to use the information properly from the team, and usually come up with the right solution at the right time.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time out. Be sure to join us once again as we continue to bring you all the excitement of Formula One.
Alright, really quick before I ended off the video, I wanted to let you guys know that after the cutscene where we cut off the music for copyright reasons, we ended up having our game crash. So if you guys look here under Monaco, instead of George Russell, it's actually Max Verstappen taking away the win, Lando Norris P2, George Russell P3, and we had to cycle through the race again, and DNF to progress through that race weekend. So it's really unfortunate for the game save, but we still have the storyline part of it. We'll keep it like that, even though we don't get the result. But yeah, you guys can see that my stats were adjusted accordingly because of the game crashing and me not skipping through the rest of it in time before it to crash. But yeah, so without further ado, we're gonna see you guys in the next episode for Canada.